Attention is the mind. Try, how would you, when you pay attention to something, you always give your attention to an object, yes? Try now to give your attention to something that has no objective qualities. It's not possible, no. So attention can only stand when it is directed towards an object. The mind, because the mind is our power of attention. If you try to think of something that has no objective qualities, you can't do it. The mind can only stand as mind if it pays attention to something. That is why the traditional progressive path gives the mind a mantra to attend to. The teaching realizes that it's not possible to attend to our true nature. It's not possible to direct our attention towards pure consciousness, because we can only direct our attention towards an object. As I said in the meditation, the word attention comes from the Latin a, meaning to or towards, and tendere, meaning to stretch. The attention is always stretched towards something. Attention is a stretch from its source, pure awareness, towards the object, and the object is always something other than itself. The mind cannot pay attention to its source. It can only pay attention to something that is not itself. That is why the mind's knowledge is always in duality. I know such and such. I love you. I see the house. I directing its attention towards you or it, an object. It's the only way the mind can know in subject-object relationship. But the mind can't turn around on itself and know itself and remain as the mind. In fact, if the mind tries to do that, it ceases to be mind and is revealed as pure consciousness. In other words, the knowing with which the mind knows whatever it knows is made out of consciousness. But your analogy was a good analogy. It is as if pure consciousness is refracted or reflected through the mind. And it's only when consciousness is reflected through the mind that it can know something other than itself. For consciousness to know itself, it doesn't need to rise in the form of the mind. It knows itself by itself. It is self-shining. But in order to know something other than itself, such as an object, person, or world, awareness needs to cease shining on itself. It needs to cease looking at itself and rise in the form of the mind. It's only as the mind that consciousness can turn away from itself and shine on the object. Therefore, at the origin of everything the mind knows is the belief, I am a temporary finite consciousness. Only a temporary subject could know a finite object. So in order to know something finite, or perceive something finite, or love someone finite, we first have to believe and feel that I am a separate consciousness. That is why the separate I thought is at the heart of all the mind's knowledge. Everything the mind knows is predicated upon the separate I thought. And that is why in this approach we don't deal with all the things, the innumerable things that the mind knows. We deal with the single belief that is at its origin. Because if that belief turns out to be faulty, then everything that the mind knows will turn out to be faulty also, or at least relative, if not faulty. So here we question the validity, or we investigate this knowing I, the I that seems to know, and this turning around of the attention, which starts with the question, what is this I? Who am I? So it's initiated very often by a question, but it's not followed by a line of reasoning. It's followed by being aware, giving our attention to the experience of awareness, giving our attention to the experience of being aware, which means being aware of being aware.
Thank you. That's useful. Can I just build on that,
Sure, yeah.
please? The analogy of the sun and the moon and how the moon borrows the sun's light was very good and very clear. And you also said that pure awareness in its pure state is before it mixes with anything. So I just want to be clear about this. So pure awareness with attention, it's like the attention makes it impure, or with mind, it makes it impure.
Yes, you see, in order to, you're right. In order for awareness to pay attention to something, that something must be an object, yes? You can't pay attention to something that's not an object.
Yes, yes.
And that object is, by definition, separate from yourself. You can only pay attention to something that is over there.
Yes.
Yeah? Now, in other words, the object is finite. It's separate from you. Yes?
Yes.
Now, in order to pay attention to a finite object, you must first imagine yourself to be a finite subject.
Right.
Only a finite subject can know a finite object. In other words, pure awareness doesn't know a finite object directly, because pure awareness is infinite. There are no, from awareness's point of view, there are no divisions within itself. There are no finite objects within itself. Because if a finite object was to appear in awareness, awareness would have to be finite. Because the object is something other than itself. Yes?
Yes.
So pure awareness doesn't know an object. In order to know an object, it must rise in the form of the mind, the subject of experience.
Yes.